The arena was alive long before the first punch was thrown. Flags waved, chants echoed, and the air itself felt heavy with anticipation. On one side stood Felix Trinidad, Puerto Rico's pride, a former multi-division world champion whose left hook had ended legends and whose calm demeanor hid ruthless finishing instincts. Across the ring was chaos incarnate, Ricardo Mayorga, Nicaragua's wildman, loud, defiant, and unpredictable, a fighter who thrived on intimidation as much as fists. This wasn't just a boxing match, it was a clash of philosophies, discipline versus disorder, legacy versus provocation. Trinidad walked with the confidence of a man who had been here before, while Mayorga arrived snarling, shouting, daring history to stop him. The crowd understood it instantly. Someone was going to fall tonight. Felix Trinidad entered the ring carrying years of expectation. From Madison Square Garden to Las Vegas, he had built a reputation as a destroyer with surgical precision. A master boxer-puncher, Trinidad didn't waste motion. Every jab measured distance. Every left hand carried consequence. Critics questioned whether he still had the fire, whether time had dulled the blade. Mayorga, on the other hand, had never cared for doubt. He fed on it. Known for upsetting elite fighters with raw aggression, trash talk, and unorthodox timing, Mayorga believed chaos broke structure. He taunted champions, smoked cigars at press conferences, and laughed at danger. To him, Trinidad wasn't a legend, he was a target. What was at stake wasn't just victory. It was validation. Trinidad sought confirmation that greatness still lived in his fists. Mayorga wanted to prove that madness could conquer mastery. Opening bell rang, and immediately the contrast was visible. Trinidad moved with patience, light on his feet, guard tight, eyes sharp. Mayorga charged forward, hands low, chin high, throwing wide hooks meant to intimidate more than land. The crowd roared with every Mayorga feint, but Trinidad refused to be rushed. He jabbed calmly, testing reactions, stepping just outside danger. Mayorga landed sporadically, wild shots that glanced or missed, but each attempt was met with a quiet answer. A stiff jab. A short right, a probing left to the body. Trinidad was reading the book page by page, while Mayorga tried to tear it apart. By the end of the second round, the message was clear. Trinidad wasn't shaken. He was waiting. As the fight progressed, the rhythm changed. Trinidad began sitting down on his punches. The jab snapped harder. The left hook started finding space. Mayorga's bravado remained loud, but his movement slowed. Each reckless charge was punished with sharp counters. A left hand to the ribs drew a grimace. Another upstairs snapped Mayorga's head back. The crowd sensed the shift. The hunter had become the hunted. Mayorga still threw, still taunted, but now there was urgency in his eyes. Trinidad's composure was suffocating. He wasn't chasing the knockout. He was constructing it. Every punch added weight. Every exchange drained resistance. This was classic Trinidad, breaking a man down before breaking him apart. Midway through the fight, the damage became undeniable. Trinidad's left hand began landing clean repeatedly with frightening precision. Mayorga tried to answer back, swinging wildly, but his punches lacked snap. A crushing left hook sent him stumbling. The crowd erupted as Mayorga barely steadied himself on the ropes. Trinidad stepped in, calm, calculated, unleashing combinations, body, head, head again. Mayorga's defense dissolved into instinct. Pride kept him upright. Heart kept him swinging. But his body was betraying him. Every exchange favored Trinidad. Every second pushed Mayorga closer to collapse. This was no longer a contest of will. It was a demonstration of superiority. And it happened. A perfectly timed left hand, short, violent, inevitable, crashed against Mayorga's jaw. His legs folded beneath him like a broken frame. The wildman went down hard, sprawled on the canvas, staring into the lights. The arena exploded. Trinidad stood over him briefly, not in celebration, but in acknowledgement. He had done what legends do. Mayorga tried to rise, fought the count, but his body refused. The referee waved it off. The fight was over. A knockout that silenced bravado and reaffirmed class. Trinidad had answered every question with his fists. As the crowd roared, Felix Trinidad raised his gloves, not in arrogance but in quiet triumph. This victory wasn't about trash talk or theatrics. It was about mastery, about preparation, about proving that discipline still reigns supreme in the chaos of boxing. Ricardo Mayorga, beaten but unbroken, had brought the fire, but fire alone couldn't melt steel. This fight became a reminder etched into boxing history. Talent can surprise, but greatness endures. On that night, under the bright lights, Felix Trinidad didn't just defeat an opponent. He reclaimed his place among boxing's elite. And as the echoes faded, one truth remained undeniable. Legends rise, chaos falls, and history remembers the ones who finish the fight. The moment the fighters stepped into the ring, the contrast was impossible to ignore. Felix Trinidad stood calm, composed, and deadly focused, his eyes cold, his movements precise, carrying the weight of a legacy built on discipline and destruction. Across from him was Ricardo Mayorga, loud and defiant, fueled by arrogance and raw aggression, a fighter who believed intimidation was a weapon as powerful as any punch. From the opening bell, Mayorga tried to turn the fight into chaos, rushing forward, taunting, swinging wide hooks meant to break Trinidad's rhythm. But Trinidad never panicked. He boxed with patience, snapping sharp jabs, stepping just out of danger, calmly dissecting every reckless advance. Each exchange told the same story. Mayorga brought noise, Trinidad brought answers. The crowd roared as tension grew, sensing that this wasn't just a fight, but a lesson slowly being written in leather and sweat. As the rounds passed, Trinidad tightened the grip. His left hand began landing with frightening accuracy, first to the body, then upstairs, each punch draining Mayorga's bravado. The wildman kept coming, driven by pride, but his attacks grew desperate, his defense unraveling. Then, in a moment that changed everything, Trinidad delivered a perfectly timed left hook, short and brutal, snapping Mayorga's head and sending him crashing to the canvas. The arena erupted as chaos finally met its end. Mayorga struggled to rise, but his body refused to follow his will. The referee waved it off. It was over. Trinidad stood victorious, not celebrating wildly, but silently, like a craftsman admiring finished work. On that night, discipline conquered disorder, legacy silenced arrogance, and boxing once again reminded the world why true greatness is built on precision, patience, and the power to end a fight when the moment demands it.